Not every retailer is in trouble. Next, for example, have a very strong balance sheet, but it's because they've adjusted their business and moved with the times. But I can tell you that even those large retailers that aren't in trouble, they have stores that just don't work. And if they don't continue to re-engineer their model and continue to move out of what it is that they're currently doing and change the model, then they're also going to end up in trouble as well. And the problem I think that we have, and the problem that needs to be resolved, is how we change our planning and rating policies to actually cope with the new environment that we're now in. What we too often see, in my view, is a backwards looking view. In other words, thought about how do we preserve what we've got rather than how do we actually work with this new environment? How do we actually create town centres that work for the way that we now live and work? So really what I'm saying is that the model at the moment is focused on trying to support a broken model rather than adapt to the new reality. And this is a reflection of human nature. What we tend to do is we value the things that we have more than an equivalent thing of the same value that's new. So I think really, from my perspective, this is a question of adapt or die. We either need to go, we need to get on board with what's happening, or we're going to find that our high streets are simply going to die and not exist in the form that, well, they certainly won't exist in the form that they are at the moment. But the question is, how do we regenerate them, and how do we change them so that they do work in today's environment? And so I've called this slide a vision and mandate for change, but my view is that planning policy needs to encourage different types of uses in our town centres. So recreation of the high streets in a more community-friendly manner, and a mix of services and uses that are aimed at the way that we live now. So for me, what that means is bringing people back into town centres. So it should mean that people can live in town centres, what form of living that is. It could be normal residential accommodation, it could be hotel, it could be a part hotel. There should be a range of different accommodation types to suit people, what people want to do. It's very important also that we create, alongside that, active uses, so places where people can work. I think there are some examples of where this has been very successfully done, like London Fields and Hackney, for example. They have planning policies which encourage residential use alongside co-working use, and in fact, in particular areas, their affordable policies are targeted at affordable workspace rather than affordable living. And the point is that really, you can't just focus on one particular planning use when you're trying to bring in affordable uses. You've actually got to look across the spectrum, and then you've also got to look at what other sorts of uses do people need for town centres to work. Leisure uses, gyms. What services do people need for their lives to function? And not the services that we used to use, department stores, but the services that people actually live with and use in their lives today, in the way that we currently live. So I see this as a unique opportunity to regenerate our town centres. And the answer really is not to retain what we have, but to reinvent. And I want to conclude this with a quote from Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survives or the most intelligent, it's the one that's most adaptive to change. And I think, for me, that more than anything else sums up the attitude that we need to take to the redevelopment of our town centres, for them to thrive and for them to be lively places as we go into this next decade.